We have illegal flippers, we have illegal smoke shows, and we even have an illegal mod that harms the polar bears? Yes, today on Idealist, we're bringing you 10 illegal mods that we see all the time and may not even know we're against the law. Let's get into it. People been modifying cars since the invention of the car. Way back when cars became a thing, pretty much every car on the road was custom made. They were all pretty much bespoke builds for the few wealthy people that could actually afford them. Meaning, you could modify and customize a car to your liking, right from the factory. But after like the 1920s, when cars started being mass produced, car makers started making them all pretty much the same to help drive down costs and give more people the opportunity to go out and afford their own car. Which blew the gates wide open for the aftermarket parts and accessories industry to swoop in and start taking your money. And frankly, it's awesome. There are hundreds of thousands of awesome aftermarket parts and accessories we all love. From engine parts and tuning software, to brakes and suspension, to better lighting, or even just a more convenient way to hold your cell phone. But some of these mods we all know and love are actually pretty illegal. Like, you could get fined hundreds of dollars or even have your car impounded. So we're breaking down the top 10 illegal mods that you can still actually buy to this day, and no one shows up to arrest you. Alright, we're gonna kick this off with one that I secretly have always wanted to use. Mostly just because it would make me feel more like James Bond. But I never have because it's A, illegal, and B, it's just kind of wrong, man. I know toll bills suck, but hey, the rules are the rules. We're talking license plate mods. There are a ton of products designed to conceal or change your license plate. There's reflective spray, there's a little curtain thingy, and there's my favorite of all, the flipper. It's like you could have your real license plate for normal driving, and then with the push of a button, have a different plate for whatever nefarious activity you're getting into. I think it's super cool, but also super illegal. And honestly, guys, you don't need to be out doing anything that would make you want to hide your license plate, okay? Just be good, people. Upgraded lights are awesome. Whether it's light bars and pods on your Froden machine, or adding a projector beam and xenons to a car that didn't have them originally. Being able to see in the dark is a pretty useful thing when you're driving a car. However, adding blindingly bright HIDs or LEDs to your stock EK housings isn't only dangerous, it's illegal too. It can be done properly, but it ain't cheap. And truthfully, most of these less expensive headlight options out there actually perform worse than just the stock setup, and simultaneously blind everyone in the process. So yeah, not ideal. Light bars and light pods and aftermarket fog lights are awesome off-road, but pretty much none of them have DOT approval, meaning you can only use them off-road. Literally, no one appreciates a brodozer with 10 light bars coming at them in the oncoming lane, or sitting behind them on the highway, or at a stoplight. Actually, let's just say no to brodozers altogether. No! I know Jeep and Toyota guys do it too, but squatted Silverados and lifted Rams are the worst offenders. While we're talking trucks, I might as well hit on the next one on the list. Coal rolling. So this one isn't really an accessory per se, more of a attribute, mod, defect? Okay, so I'd be lying if I said I didn't love seeing a huge cloud of smoke from a big old oil burner every once in a while. But not so much on the street. When it comes to things like tractor pulls or semi-truck racing, I'm all for it. But when your broke F-250 smokes out the whole street just because you think it's cool...
You think you're too cool for school.
Welp, you're the only one.
And yeah, you guessed it, it's illegal.
No diesel truck left the factory that way, and for a few pretty good reasons. For one, all that smoke equates to a ton of excess unburnt fuel, which means it's not only bad for the environment, but bad for your wallet too. Properly tuned diesels do not smoke.
Period. And I'm no cop, and I'm certainly not the type of guy that always obeys every law out there. But rolling coal is just a negative all the way around in my book. In my eyes, it makes you look like an idiot, and the cops will be happy to pull you over and let you know they think so too. Engine tuning is awesome. By tweaking fuel and ignition tables, you can get more power, sometimes slightly better mileage, and even improve drivability too. Win, win, win. But it's also pretty much illegal, or for off-road use only, right? Putting your car on a dyno, having a qualified engine management nerd go through and optimize things as far as they can is one thing. But slapping something like this in is another thing entirely. Now, these plug-and-play tuners aren't always bad. They're not. Cobb does brilliant work with theirs, and the JB4 for the most part works pretty good as well. The problem is, devices like these don't actually remap your car's base tables. They just take signals from the various sensors in the engine, change them, and spit those modified values back to the ECM, tricking it into making more boost or ramping up ignition timing or whatever. And that, my friends, can be dangerous.
Dangerous and absolutely illegal. Pretty much anytime you modify your engine's computer parameters, you're also modifying emissions output. And I don't know for sure, but I'm betting no one tunes their car in an attempt to lower emissions. Manufacturers do a pretty good job of that themselves.
Unless you're Volkswagen. And while we're on engine mods, if you're gonna tune your car, chances are you're gonna wanna tweak your exhaust system too. And hey, I totally get it. Most cars are either too quiet or just don't sound that great from the factory. And spending a few $100 to get that noise we all love is a relatively small price to pay to get the attention from the ladies. Nope, that's never, not one time worked for me. You will, however, almost certainly get the attention of the 5.0.
Take your hands out of your pocket. Let's go there. Smile.
The buddy got going.
Tasteful exhaust mods usually fly under the radar, but straight piping your Civic not only pisses off your neighbors, but could land you with a big fine. Some states are more strict than others, and some officers actually appreciate a good sounding exhaust. But the decibel meter doesn't lie, so just try to keep it classy, people. Maybe you're more into good sound coming from your speakers inside your car than you are from the pipes coming out back. That's all good. But you should know that excessively loud stereo systems, you guessed it, illegal. This one sort of makes sense. I mean, if you can't hear the police sirens behind you, you could be accidentally involving yourself in a police chase before you know it. For me, my favorite sort of noise comes from the intake side of the engine. Induction noise. And one of the best ways to get that piped into your ear holes is with a cold air intake. We know most cold air intake systems don't do a whole lot to actually add any power, but they sound awesome. Stupidly, most of them are against the law. If only modern cars had some sort of system on board capable of tuning itself to the exact temperature and volume of air entering the engine. The EPA is convinced that somehow a cold air intake is bad for the polar bears. It isn't. But nonetheless, it's considered tampering with an emissions control device. Gotta love bureaucracy. This one seems sort of obvious. Like, obviously the cops don't want you to be able to detect their radars. However, in almost every state, here in the US anyway, radar detectors are not illegal. So, yay us.
What are illegal are jammers. And unfortunately, in areas where they primarily use laser, a detector isn't going to help you. By the time the detector goes off, chances are you've already been clocked.
You can buy and even install radar and laser scramblers or jammers, but you can't technically use them. Makes perfect sense. This is a fad that I'm glad has faded away. Underglow was cool on those Civics in Fast and Furious. Less cool pretty much everywhere else. I ripped it off the R8 the first chance I got. Underglow not only gets you in trouble with the taste police, but the real police too. The Department of Transportation has some pretty strict laws about what color lights can go where, and there's not much wiggle room.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle.
Normally it's just a fix-it ticket, but depending on what colors you decide to use and whether or not they flash, you run the risk of getting slapped with impersonation of a police officer. That's like big trouble. Ask me how I know. Okay, last but not least, tint. And not just for your windows, but headlights and taillights too. I should note that tint alone isn't a problem. Tint that's too dark is, and the cops roll around with little devices that can measure where your tint lands on the spectrum. Again, some states don't seem to care nearly as much about it as others. But technically, dark tint is illegal. How dark you can go changes state by state, and changes depending on which part of the car you've tinted. Taillights are required to be red and reflective, and tinting headlights, well, it's just kind of dumb. It can help you avoid getting hit with that laser we talked about earlier, but certainly doesn't help you out at night. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of a fan of being able to see in the dark. So there we have it, folks. 10 illegal mods that you can totally buy. And chances are, a lot of you have some of these done to your own cars. Let me know in the comments which ones you've done, which ones you like, and which ones you don't. I'll be reading and responding. In the meantime, go check out our Idealist, Blinker Fluid, and Overdrive starter packs. They're totally binge-worthy. See ya!